Hey everybody, and welcome to Deck Highlighting, a new show that I'm doing as a side series to the Magic the Gathering pods. And what this series is going to be about is players can showcase their decks that they're playing in these pods and let people take a look, see what their idea is about the deck, and what goes through their mind as they're playing. My deck I'm showing you today is Karametra. She is a green-white commander. She is one white, one green, three colorless, and she is a 6/7 god enchantment creature. The enchantment part is very important for this deck, and her ability is whenever you cast a creature spell, you may search for your library for a forest and a plains, I'm sorry, and put them on the battlefield tapped. Really good ability because it's like a mid-game land ramp, basically. So that is our commander for the deck I'm going to showcase. My token for it, I only have one token. It is a 4/4 Angel Flying. She is actually important because I have a card called the Sigil of the Empty Throne, and what it does is that whenever you cast an enchantment, you make a 4/4 Flying Angel. And I got the token from the unset in here myself. Really nice full art token. So that's the only token creation I have in this deck. So to go through the deck, I've got 8 forests, and I have 8 plains as my basic mana, or my basic land. And that takes care of 16 pieces automatically there. And then for my more hardcore non-basic lands, I've got 4 dual lands, Temple Garden, Canopy Vista, Savannah, and Scattergroves. I am very against tap lands, so anything that comes in without having to worry about just coming in tap is like the best thing for me. This one's the only exception just because it is a cycle land. And that has other features besides just dual lands. Along with those, I have Horizon Canopy and Command Tower to help with the 2 different manas I need for the deck. I have 3 different fetches in here. Basically the only 3 fetches you can have for these 2 colors. Very important because it helps me thin out my deck. Really special land that is recommended in this deck because it is fully enchantment based is Sarah Sanctum. It's more of an expensive card, but it's definitely worth it. You add 1 white to your mana pool for every enchantment you control. So that includes the ones that you put on your opponents also, because you still control them. So let's say like Song of the Dryad, Prison Term, things like that. Reliquary Tower, because we want to know max hand size, it's pretty good. Nykthos, because we're running only 2 colors, so it still gives us plenty of devotion. Strip Mine, because I have the kind of combo in here with Crucible Worlds, Roundup Excavator, to get it back and keep strip mining people, along with burgeoning and exploration. And Imra, the Sky Ruin. This actually is a really good card because if you have 7 or more plains, in which we will, because these dual lands count as plains, and then I also have 7 plains as basics. When you have 7 or more plains on your upkeep, you can get a creature back from your graveyard straight to the battlefield. Really good. So if they get like a board wipe or something, and you already used your replenish to get all your enchantments back, or maybe it was milled, and now they just killed your Ewit. Well, now you can bring that Ewit back immediately, and then get that replenish back to your hand to put your board state back to normal. Kind of situations like that. It's really important and really nice to have. So that's the land base. In total, there is 16 there, and of course we have the 5 here, and we have 31 lands in total. 31 allows us to get our mana pretty quickly and pretty reliably. I've got 4 mana based land enchantments. These allow me to get extra mana from my mana pool. They're just quicker ways to get mana. Really good to have. So now we're going to get to our main enchantments. We have Exploration and Burgeoning, the ones I was talking about earlier, to help play more lands per turn. I've got that Sigil of the Empty Throne, which allows us to create 4/4 angels, which is really good because we're going to play a lot of enchantments, and that's going to give us a lot of ways to deal with threats or become the threat. We also have Karmic Justice, which allows us to destroy an opponent's permanent, like any permanent, which includes lands, if they destroy one of our non-creature permanents. So a board wipe means I'm going to wipe them of their lands. It's kind of like a really good deterrent from that. Ground Seal is in the deck to make sure people can't focus down their graveyards. There's a lot of card decks in my meta right now, my local meta that deals with graveyard targeting, such as Marin or Shroom. I have there's a few of those decks around here, Duretti. So this allows us not only to cantrip off of it for only 2 mana, but it has really good value in my meta. Mirror's Guile is pretty much a Sensei's Divine Top every upkeep. You just look at the top 3 cards on your upkeep and put them in whatever order you want. Sylvan Library, which is another one kind of like that, allows us to look at the top 3 cards of our deck and put them in any order we want, or just take them and put them in our hand. And it costs 4 mana for every card after the first, but it's definitely worth it, especially to thin out your deck too. Next we have Sterling Grove to kind of end this part of the section here. Sterling Grove makes all your other enchantments have Shroud, which is very important because this deck is actually really pillow forty. So you want to try to protect yourself as much as you can while you're about to like go crazy on your opponent. There is a pretty good few ways to make it so that you can't target this either. But if we don't get those ways to stop them from targeting this, if they do try to destroy it, we can just sack it for 1 and go get a enchantment and put it into on top of the deck. So it's really good Enlightened Tutor for enchantment if they try to focus it down. I have 2 ways to get infinite mana in this deck. Well, 3 ways, not infinite mana. I have 2 ways to get double my mana in this deck, and that's Zendikar Resurgent and Mirai's Wake. Both of them give my mana double. Well, not double. You add 1. I'm sorry. The actual mana doubler for green is Mana Reflection, but I don't have that. I just had these 2 here. What's really good about Zendikar Resurgent is another way to draw a card when you cast a creature spell. That's going to be very important because I'll show you in a little bit, there's ways you want to keep drawing your deck as you're casting cards so you can keep casting and keep drawing until you get your win condition. Mirai's Wake is just really good because it gives you an extra land, but it also gives you a +1/+1 on all your creatures. So that's going to beef Karametra up to a 7/7. So I'm hitting people with 7 commander damage, putting them on a 3 turn clock for me to kill them. We're going to go to creatures now. Of course, we have our mana creatures like Birds of Paradise, Knight of the Reliquary, Sadroba is what we call it. Birds of Paradise, you get rainbow mana tapping it. Now the Reliquary is super important in this deck because you get to sack a land and search a deck for another land. So you can stack a basic forest and go get your Serra Sanctum, which is really important in this deck because you want to find ways to get your big lands out as soon as possible. So make sure you make as much mana as needed. And then of course Sad Robot. When it dies, you draw a card, but when it comes into the battlefield, you get to look for a land and put it on the battlefield tap. This with Karametra allows you to go get 2 lands and put them on the battlefield tap. It's pretty good. Run-up Excavator, as I talked about earlier, with Strip Mine, allows me to do that. Or with my fetches, I can keep fetching lands. It's pretty good for that. Alright, so here's my kind of pillow fort here, but also some really good creatures. Aegis of the Gods makes me so I have hexproof. So if they want to target me with like Aetherflux Reservoir, well they can't because I have hexproof. It's really good. They can target it, but not if I have Archetype Endurance out, which gives all my creatures hexproof, and my opponents can't have hexproof. It's really good. You can't do anything on my turn because Grand Abolisher is out, and your opponents can't cast spells or activate abilities of creatures and enchantments and artifacts on my turn. Really good. So that's just some really good cards to help take care of anything that could be a threat. Now, Sigarda, Host of Herons. It's not really good for basic Karametra deck. You're probably wondering why is this in here. In my local meta, I have a bunch of decks that make me sack cards or sack permanents. Especially creatures. So it's good to have Sigarda out so I don't have to worry about that. Because it's one of the only ways you can deal with Karametra, or as my next card is, Avacyn. And in my meta I have people to worry about like Geth, or really he changed his deck to Gisa, which is mono black. It's all about sacking permanents to do stuff to me, make me sack stuff. And of course Marin, decks like that I just want to protect against. Avacyn is in here just so I can make everything indestructible. It's really handy, especially with I have a creature destruction card in here, Austere Command, and it makes it so I don't have to worry about losing my enchantments, artifacts, as little as I do have, creatures, lands. I don't have to worry about it. And she's also just a really beefy attacker too. She's really nice to have. Humbler of Mortals is in here so that whenever an enchantment comes into play, everything gets trampled, which is good because I have like beefy creatures like Karametra in the deck, Heliod and other ones I'm going to show you here in a bit. But once everything gets trampled, then I don't have to worry about them blocking my gods and just not worrying about it. Now they have to worry about it and maybe have to block with more than one to deal with it. So that's really good. And Heliod is good because it gives all my other creatures vigilance. Just some good gods. Vigilance is always good to have. Herald of the Pantheon just allows me to cast my spells for my enchantments for 1 less. And whenever I do, I gain a life. Sometimes that gaining life helps out a lot. She's in here. I can't ever pronounce it. Yaviama Maya Enchantress. I don't know. But she gets +1/+1 for each enchantment on the battlefield. On the battlefield. Not mine. On the battlefield. She is very strong, and if she's left alone, she can get just out of hand really fast and let me swing for a lot. As I talked about earlier, I do have Ewit in the deck. Eternal Witness allows me to get a card out of the graveyard to my hand. So we're going to go to my draw spells now. Not spells, well there are spells, but they're creatures and enchantments that allow me to draw cards whenever I cast an enchantment. Talked about a minute ago, EDH Boston, so whenever it comes in the battlefield I draw a card, or whenever a enchantment comes in the battlefield I draw a card. Misa Enchantress, whenever you play enchantment, which is pretty much, it says cast in the errata. Same thing with these. When you cast them, you draw a card. Important cards to have. This one's enchantment. These are all creatures. These allow me to help draw through my deck and get to my win conditions faster. It seems like most of the time I only have maybe 2 out at a time when I play this deck, which out of 5 isn't too bad in a 100 card deck, or 99 card deck. Now we're going to get to my my control for the deck. It's Fairy's Protection to help protect me from anything I'm controlling when I die, basically. Nevermore and Gideon's Intervention. I have these in the deck because the only ways that really take care of me are Merciless Eviction and Cyclonic Rift, in which case I call them with these to make sure I just don't get hit at all. At least in my meta, that's my problem. Sphere of Safety, Pillow Fort, allows me to, for every enchantment I have, they have to pay that many to swing at me. Worship, which has damage that would be, reduce me less than 1, reduce me to 1 instead. So when someone's trying to like kill me with combat damage, they just can't. Something like Kiki's Zealous Constructs, Kiki Zealous Constructs combo. They can't kill me, they only bring me down to 1, so they have to find out a way to take care of Worship too. I also have Righteous Aura. I pay 2 life and prevent all damage from any one source. That's usually used to prevent damage from commanders, so I just don't die from commander damage. Delaying Shield, kind of the same thing, I just don't want to die from commander damage. But whenever I get hit, I actually put a counter on this instead. I have a combo in here with Solemnity that says that when I take damage, this gets a counter. Solemnity says you can't have a counter, so it means I just don't take damage, ever. It's a pretty good combo. Delaying Shield, that's just really good stuff to have. This deck's all about protecting myself as I'm getting ready to go off. Quarantine Field, just really, sorry. It's a really good card to stop people from going crazy with their board states. I can pay a bunch of mana into this and just take everybody's non-land permanents and put them under here and be like, can't have these, this is my O-Ring. Speaking of O-Ring, here's my Oblivion Ring to take care of people's non-land permanents. Same thing with Banishing Light. Stasis Snare to get rid of creatures in a flash, so I can deal with their swinging on me, or if they're about to go off like Kiki Zealous or something, I'm like, well, in response to the cast is Zealous, I'll take care of Kiki real quick. You know, things like that. Prison Turn, which allows me to, if the enchanted creature can't activate their abilities, can't attack or block, which is pretty nice. And I can, whenever another creature under their control comes into the field, I can move this to that creature instead. It's pretty good. Summon the Dryad to make one of their permanents into a colorless forest land. So basically, here, take a forest. I don't want to deal with your commander anymore. Stuff like that. And with this, they can't put the commander back to the command zone. It's just literally their commander is now forced. Crows and Grip and Aura Shards to deal with enchantments and artifacts. Pretty good stuff, especially Crows and Grip. So they're gonna go pay 50 to deal damage to me. Well, they already paid their 50. I think that's how it works. And then you just Crows and Grip it, so it just fizzles basically. Whenever a creature comes into play, this is what goes with Heliod. So whenever a creature comes into play, I can just destroy everybody else's enchantment or creature, or enchantment or artifact. So that's really helpful. Aura Shards, Stony Silence to help with opponents going crazy with their artifacts. Can be activated, and they have to pay 2 to even cast them. If someone does target this, I can just sack it and destroy their artifact or enchantment in response. So that's pretty good. We have Shroom players and stuff like that, so Stony Silence is super important in my meta, especially with Storm players too. Speaking of Storm players, Curse of Exhaustion helped me deal with them, so they can only play 1 spell a turn. Of course, they can bounce it and keep going, but they have to have that bounce spell first. It's a really good card to deal with Storm players and blue players in general. I have my tutors here. Basically, go get my enchantments, put the hand, enchantment, artifact, put on top of my deck. Go get a creature, put it into play. So I'm just good tutoring. Replenish to help me get the enchantments out of my graveyard back to battlefield if they board wipe me before I can get Avacyn out or something like that. Really good card to have. Oscar Command, so I can just go ahead and destroy all enchantments, creatures, artifacts, whatever I need to. I can choose 2 of them on here. If I have this in hand, I might do that if I want to deal with somebody's like scary combos or whatever they have going on. Going to my artifacts, I don't have many. Soul Ring, even though I have Stony Silence, it's just in here so I can get that early advantage. Crucible Worlds to help get my fetches back, or if I need to get Strip Mine and just screw people out of the game. Helm of the Gods, pretty much that's Yevimaya on a stick. So I can attach this to a creature like my commander and swing out for the game, usually. Kill somebody instantly. Cloud Key to help me cast my enchantments for 1 less, or if I really needed creatures or something. Pretty good card to have. Now going to the end, these are my win conditions. These help me win the game pretty quickly. If I'm not just swinging for damage, these are how I go faster. Vizier Remedies, Solemnity, and Devoted Druid allows me to get infinite green mana, which basically allows me to do something like Tooth and Nail. Or just play my hand because I'm going to have infinite green mana, but nonetheless. So these with Devoted Druid, because when you untap her, you're supposed to put a -1/-1 counter on her. That's how you limit her taps. But Solemnity says you can't have a counter, and Vizier says that you can't have if you would put 1 or more -1/-1s, then you reduce that by 1. So you do that, you just net 0. So you just keep doing it. And it's Tooth and Nail and when you entwine it for 9 instead of the 7, you can go get 2 creatures and put them onto the battlefield. Put it in your hand and then put 2 creatures from your hand onto the battlefield. Generally, especially if I have infinite mana going, I get Nelia, God of the Hunt, and Credithoof. Credithoof has haste and gives that +X/+X. I get everything +X/+X for how many creatures are on the battlefield. But Nelia, if I have infinite mana anyways, I'm just going to beef everything up to a million and swing out. Because she has a really good, if you pay 1 green and 3 colorless, you can give a creature +2/+2 until end of turn. Along with that, all your creatures have trample because of her. So you just get these and then just beef everything and you win. Tooth and Nail pretty much says, hey, I'm probably winning this turn. While you have infinite mana, or if you have just a bunch of mana, this has been a win con of mine a lot. Genesis Wave. It's just the 1 card, you put a bunch of mana into it and you top deck that many things and you get a whole bunch of permanents out. Lands are permanents. It's DMC of whatever you cast it for. So if I cast it for 9, I'm getting everything in my deck. Those top 9 cards, I'm getting them all into the battlefield unless they're instant sorceries. But they are coming out. Really good card. I generally do it for like 14 or more. Uplessence and Starfield Nyx makes all my enchantments into creatures. Goes really well with Credithoof also. But it also means I have a bunch of creatures I can just swing out with. And if I have this out, then on my upkeep, I can actually get an enchantment from my graveyard back to the battlefield. So it's pretty good. And then I only have 1 Planeswalker in the deck. It's the brand new Planeswalker. You can actually +1 it, and you get 1 off of this. And then 1 for each, 1 loyalty counter for each creature you have on the battlefield. So you can actually make a lot of loyalty counters on here. Negate, so that you can get the emblem, where when you cast a creature card, you can draw a card. Or -1, so you can give someone +X/+X, where X is the amount of creatures you have. It's just a really crazy Planeswalker. But that's the Karametra deck. If you have any questions, or if you want to put any kind of thoughts about the deck, just comment below. And thank you for watching. We'll have more of these later on with other people who want to showcase their deck. And if you want to like the video and subscribe, go ahead.